One, go.
Welcome everyone to Tuesdays with Tim. We are featuring 3 channels, simulcasting, Latter Daily Digest, Momo Nomo, and the Midlife Revolution. Hi, Megan.
Howdy, y'all.
Hi there. Good to be with you guys tonight.
Thank you.
I'm Randy.
And I'm Megan.
And I'm Tim.
Hi, Randy. So the bat phone just went off. Is that Tim?
Yes. I don't know who it is.
Tim's so popular, he doesn't even know how
If it's
to
for
pause
me, I'm not here.
notifications or anything.
So anyway, I muted Tim for a little bit. And so anyhow, when he figures out how to answer his phone, I'll bring him back on. So it's the Mormon Church occult. 2 Aussies say so, and we're going to talk about that.
They're gone. It does. I don't know who it was.
But anyhow,
Hey, I'm glad to see y'all here, our listeners. Thank you. Every week I get a little excited to see who all's coming on. And every week there's just a few more.
maybe I'm going to do this.
And then everyone comments at the same time and claps and applauds. Yeah.
Yeah. So today also happens to be Giving Tuesday, and I'm going to recommend everybody look at Megan and just think how much money you need to give her. Just if you pray about it, the answer will come. And so somehow give money to Megan because she's an awesome podcaster and she deserves everything.
Well,
Randy,
you know what?
there's
one thing we know is true, Gene, though, above anything else.
The Lord does not need your money.
That's right. So if you've stopped paying tithing, Megan is only charging like 9%, 8%, 7%. It's just a sliding scale.
I'm just below the church at 9.75%. It's a steal.
Whatever it is, it's a bargain. And you get way more information. You get
I could use
family home evening. You get Thursday firesides. And you get
the secret Mormon temple rituals, all the signs and tokens for the low price of just $99.95.
Priestess craft.
I said a little prayer.
Craft. I love it. I always thought that I would make a good priestess, but apparently I'm only anointed to become such. So
yeah, and if you smoke marijuana, you could be a high priestess.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's see. Randy, do you have any thoughts on this? Is Mormon Church occult just on your own without even reading the Aussies, the Australians document?
Yeah, let's talk about that first. Let's talk about where this came from. Let's discuss this document first before we.
So I was thinking we could give our own little inputs first, and then we'll go into the document where it comes from and stuff like that, and then we'll get
all right.
Well, I certainly believe with every fiber of my being that the church is a corporate cult.
Hallelujah.
And, my gosh, you look at Stephen Hassan's bite model, and we just check all the boxes of what makes a cult. And holy crap! For 45 years of my life, I wore special underwear and feigned slitting my throat.
And they weren't Depends. You weren't wearing those special underwear.
Nope. Gosh darn it.
Megan's next.
I have practically done, hundreds of hours of content on how the Mormon Church is a cult. I've talked about Stephen Hassan's bite model. I have talked about my little ungleamy acronym. All of the characteristics of narcissistic people can also apply to organizations. And we have in the LDS Church an organization that cares more about its own survival and safety than it does about the safety of children. And I think one of the things that strikes me the most about it is that an organization that claims to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, it took them until 2015, which, Tim, you can do the math because I don't feel like it, from 1830 to 2015, before they added caring for the poor and needy as one of their core mission statements. It was always perfect the saints, redeem the dead, preach the gospel. And then in 2015, as an afterthought, we should probably also care for the poor and needy. And, even though they've added that to their mission statement and they have significantly increased the amount of money that they donate to charitable organizations, it is still a ridiculously small amount compared to the amount of wealth that they have. And what I've often said is that even if they only took care of their own members, they could alleviate poverty among their own members, but they will not do it. They could alleviate SA in the church among their own members, and they will not do it. They won't spend the money to do simple things like background checks. They won't spend the money to do simple things like alerting congregants when there is an offender in their ward. There are so many things they could do that are just basic, base level things that seem so simple to the rest of the world of organizations and corporations. And they won't do it because they just don't care.
There you go. And I'll say that 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more, I was thinking about, could the church be a cult, even though I was going to church all the time and doing everything. But I thought, if it is, it's the nicest cult ever. Now, it wasn't until COVID, summer happened and other things, and I started watching more podcasts and reading more books and stuff that I've come to conclude that it might not even be a nice cult. It works for some people. It works great for some people. And if you're somebody that it works great for, and you don't know about a rock and a hat, or you don't know that Joseph Smith married 20 women before Emma Smith knew anything, then maybe it's not working as well as you think, but it only is working well because you agreed to be have the wool pulled over your eyes. Brother Jones, what do you think about the church being a cult as a former cult employee?
As Megan was talking about that, and we brought the word cult, I think 20 years ago, I couldn't define what a cult was. I think that's one of the major problems is we don't really know anybody who is in a cult, right? I don't. I remember being called that the church was a cult in high school, and I was like taken aback. This was in class. Oh, that church is a cult, and I was like, no, we're not. But I didn't really know what a cult was, right? With the advent of the information age and all these groups that we can learn about, and of course the fine work of Stephen Hassan, we can all go onto the YouTube and learn about how these groups behave. And I have to just say, the more I learn, the more it fits the description. I mean, it's stunning, really. It's really actually stunning. And this document that we're going to talk about goes through it in a methodical way. And I just want to say this before I forget, that I think this document is significant because we know that the church changes when legal pressure is applied, okay, from the state or whatever it is. And this is that kind of document. Whether or not the Australian government takes it up and, there's changes or new rules or whatever, but it's presented in a legalistic way, which is what that's when things are heard at the church, is when things are coming from a legal point of view.
Almost like getting mob criminals on tax evasion or mail fraud instead of the actual crimes that they're committing, that you have to find some other way.
As John Grisham said in his book, The Firm, it's not sexy, but it's got teeth.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've read the whole document. I have some opinions about it. I have some thoughts about it. But anyway, that's my first take.
And I'm going to say for Tim is that he always knew he was in a cult, but he fucking loved it.
Well,
Go ahead, Tim. Tell it yours.
Creed from The Office says, I've been in lots of cults. You have more fun as a member, but you make more money as a leader. So
there you go.
I think I began to realize this back when I was at BYU, and I said to a friend that the church is like a family, and it abuses us, and then it forgives us, and then it abuses us again and again.
All in the name of love.
All in the name of love. That's when I began to realize, something's wrong. When I was at BYU, I realized a lot of things, and yeah, I began to see it back then. And the more and more I thought about it, the more and more, and then, it's a bad organization. It's evil. It's pernicious. And
okay, who wants to talk about how the background from this document?
how about Brother Jones, since he's the one that shared? So let's put it in the chat so people can read.
I'm getting it right now.
Okay.
It took me 45 minutes to an hour to read. I don't read very fast.
Yeah.
But I read every word. I will say that it's written by Simon Southerton, who should be well known in our community, and the other guy's name, Rashow, I forget his first name. They're
The
both
lawyer.
Neville.
Yeah, Neville Rashow, who he's been on many podcasts talking about his experience. What's interesting, at some point he went on a mission, for a public affairs mission for the church in Europe. I want to say 10 or 15 years ago. Okay. So these two know who they're dealing with. People take them seriously, what I will say. And Rashow knows what he's doing in writing this document, and they've submitted this as part of many other groups are submitting documents to the state of Victoria, which is just a state in Australia, which is the southern easternmost state. I don't know if Tasmania is a state or not. That's where Melbourne is. Okay, they've submitted this document to provide information to, I guess, Parliament or their state government about potential laws that could be adjusted or written to protect people from groups like this. In fact, if you just look at the beginning of the document, it says the inquiry into the recruitment methods and impacts of cults and organized fringe groups. This document comes from these two, and they've titled it from Australian Post-Mormon Community, August 5th, 2025. And apparently there's like 500 or so people in their group, and I suspect that most of them, or all of them, read the document before it was submitted and had input or whatever. But it's written in a legal type of document with every paragraph has a number, right? So you can quickly reference where you're looking. And I think it's going to be like a year before there's any response to the document. And they go through, well, just what it says, the recruitment methods and impacts of cults and organized fringe groups. Now, I think the major takeaway from the document is that they hope that laws can be created or adjusted to make it so the church or other groups like this must fully disclose various types of information about their history, doctrine, and practices before people join. It's like this. What do we call it? Informed consent. They want informed consent written into law, I think. And it goes through all kinds of issues. Talks a lot about the missionary program. And all these questions come to my mind as I read through this about what current 18, 19-year-old missionaries know and do not know about the church that they're working for or volunteering for, or and what I did, what Tim and I did, and Randy too, right? Randy, you served the mission, right? Yeah. So anyway, I would encourage everybody to read through it, and I think there's it's a very salient document that it condenses all of these issues into a single. It's about 30 pages.
And it has footnotes.
Say again?
It has footnotes.
It has lots of footnotes.
It has lots of footnotes. It has an addendum, an appendix.
Yeah.
It's very thorough. There's only one misspelling in the whole document that I found.
Okay,
there
so
were
people are saying that
need to be corrected, but yeah. And there's a few things I don't agree with the document entirely on. But anyway, it's a good read.
So some people are saying that the link is not working.
You're muted, Megan.
I hope I just made the link work.
Sorry, thank you. I've heard that the link is not working. So I just quickly made a Patreon post. I just put the link in the chat right there. I do have free features on my Patreon. And so I just posted this article for free on my Patreon, so you can go there and see it.
And I reposted the link, and I think it might work better because the way it was before wasn't too bulky.
This document to me was very shocking. Some of the things that I read in it, I was appalled about.
What were you most appalled at, Tim?
The thing about Jamaica, where they raised all that money, and it didn't go to Jamaica. It went someplace. It went back to Salt Lake. And then the way the church uses money to funnel money to Australia, back to Salt Lake, and back and forth, and all around the world. And they're just moving money. That's all they're doing is moving money around.
Okay. This issue came up 2 or 3 years ago. It was a Australia 60 Minutes, I think, did a feature on this. Okay. Let me explain the issue as I understand it. In the U.S., members can deduct their tithing contributions from their taxes, right?
Right.
You write a check out to the church, we can deduct that as charitable contribution. Well, in Australia, they cannot do that with a religious organization. And they created LDS charities. And they would allow members to send their tithing to LDS charities, Australia.
But they didn't know.
Document.
They didn't know about the LDS charities. It wasn't known to the members.
That could be that the members were still back to the church, and it was actually going to LDS charities.
Yeah.
Which allowed Australian members to deduct that expense from their taxes.
Yeah.
No other religious organization could do that in Australia. Okay. Well, they got caught because they wondered, how is it that the LDS charities in Australia is spending $700 million a year? They're not even collecting that much. Okay. And so they found out that they were sending money to Australia to be dispersed into other parts of the world or whatever. And this still hasn't been resolved. This hasn't actually been litigated or anything. It hasn't been resolved. But it shows kind of the backdoor approach to all these things. There's other cases like this, but that hasn't been resolved. And I think that's a very interesting thing that I hope will eventually be exposed as to what was really going on. I mean, the church operates in a lot of ways to get around the law. Even where there's little tricks that they play. Okay.
Why do you think they have so many attorneys in church leadership?
Right. Well,
they know how to get around the loopholes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure on their side, they say we've done everything above board and legal and all that, and they'll litigate it to the end of the world. Right?
Well, but listen, let's talk about what's above board and what's legal. If you talk about, so in support of what you're saying, Brother Jones. I'm not against you, just to be clear. I know I sound hostile right now. I'm not hostile towards you. I'm hostile towards the church. When the SEC scandal broke, what was it that the apologists said? They didn't report the amount that was true on the form because they didn't think that they had to disclose that. They didn't think that they needed to disclose it. They didn't think anybody needed to know. That's not the law, though. The IRS is very, very clear about what you do and do not have to disclose. They felt like it was their right to not disclose it. And why did they feel that way? Because they feel entitled to do whatever the F they want.
Well, they're God's
because they're
church.
a religious organization.
They're God's church. They believe that God is running them and telling them what to do, no matter what. You know, I mean,
So
how many times did I run into that with leadership? You know, it's God's church, and what we say goes, no matter what the law is. And I'm going, that's not right, you know, but it's God's.
LDS Charities, there's an LDS Charities Australia entity, but don't forget, our Elder Casse just said the church is not a charity. He just said that on camera, okay? And what Tim was referring to earlier was that the UK collected donations from members in the UK to donate. I think it was to Haiti.
To Haiti. Haiti,
okay.
For the earthquake relief.
I don't know, because UK has to report, again, talk to Peter Bleakley about this. They found out that all the money they collected, which was around $5 million, had just been sitting in an account doing nothing. It was never sent. You know, again, from the church's point of view, it's like, oh, well, we just took money from somewhere else and sent it there. And we'll just use this for that, which is why on the tithing slip, it says we can do whatever we want with the money.
That's right.
Years ago, right? So,
so I used to work for a corporation that would hold the Christmas bonuses for one extra day every year because they knew the amount of interest that they could earn by holding it for that one extra day. And it just really feels like that's exactly what the LDS Church did with that Haiti money. They were like, oh, you gave us $5 million. Well, let's invest that and we could grow it to $20 million. And then imagine how much it'll help the people of Haiti, except it never went there. It just stayed in the investment account and continued to grow.
Haiti was due for a windfall at the end of the millennium.
Well, you know, if Jesus comes to Haiti, that's the first place the money's going to go.
You know, I recently saw on a podcast the breakdown of how much money the church makes in a year, as opposed to in a month, in a week, in a day, down to the second. And I wish I could quote the figures, but it's mind-boggling how much
Randy,
money.
Don't tease us like that.
Well, okay, I can make some up that sound very convincing. But it's like, I do remember, it's like just in tithing alone, $7 million a day. So, and then you look at the compounding interest on this. It's like a snowball that's just growing quicker than, and it kills me that the LDS Church is not paying taxes because you know what? They're an effing business. I don't care what you say. They're a business.
It's a corporation.
Okay. They're incorporated. They should pay taxes. Listen, I have my own corporation. They sure as hell make me pay taxes. Way too many of them.
And you're not a charity either, just like the Mormon Church.
I'm a lot more charitable than the Mormon Church, though. I will tell you that.
What I think is another very interesting point is that I believe the document mentions 5 or so countries that are required to disclose this information, right? Which is why we know about these things in the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and I don't know where else. But the US, this special country, they don't have to disclose They don't have to be transparent with their financial dealings or whatever. And it makes you wonder if that will ever change. That maybe it just has to be a grassroots effort, which I suppose this relates to this documentary that I have not seen yet called The Religion Business, right?
Oh, it's really good.
I have not seen it, but I'm sure it's, I know, as a youngster, I used to stick my nose up and make fun of the televangelist, right? You see on TV back in the 70s and 80s. And you just think, how ridiculous is that? And here we are, 2025.
Well, but since COVID, all these big mega churches are dying. I saw a video on YouTube, 2 or 3, that talking about how mega churches died during COVID, and they're a lot smaller corporate congregations. They're smaller and smaller, and they're getting back to pretty much grassroots type of evangelism.
Well, that's because you have to be in person in order to be scammed by the elevation emotion
That's right.
created by
That's
groupthink.
right.
So
And
if you're
when
not in the
people-
group, you are free to close your laptop, which is what I did during COVID as well. And it's one of the reasons I never went back.
I want to also add that this it's interesting that this document comes from Australia.
Yes.
And I made some notes here that I think many of the problems or things that are discussed in this document, I think they're primarily a problem in the Western world. Okay, in developing nations like where I live, or say Chile, Mexico, Guatemala, whatever, I don't think the problems that they talk about in here are as big of a problem, because the policies of the church are not applied, or they're not enforced by local people nearly as much as they would in, say, Utah or the Western United States. I don't know about in other areas, but I can tell you for a fact, where I live, tithing settlement is a non-issue. It's almost not done anywhere. Okay, but literally, there's only, I would bet you, in places like where I live, I would be surprised if more than 20% of tithe payers even go to tithing settlement, let alone know what it's about. Okay, so
Really?
I think this problem is I would say these cult problems are most prominent in areas in Western cultures who are more legalistic in their thinking and application of church policy and doctrine and all that kind of stuff. It would be a fascinating study. I mean, I don't know if anybody out there, any scholars are out there are doing this about the Mormon experience outside of the West, but it would be very interesting information to know, because a lot of people out here view the church as a way out of their country, a way to modernize, to get an education, access resources, whatever. It's not about the doctrine and the day-to-day practice.
So hey, I asked.
We're not talking about just the layperson. We're talking about leadership in these places as well.
I asked
Right.
Notebook LM to summarize in 200 words the document. So it says the text comprises a formal submission from the Australian Post-Mormon Community to the Victorian Parliament, arguing that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, functions as an organized cult requiring state scrutiny. The primary allegations focus on institutional deception, claiming the church utilizes an aggressive proselytism system that conceals problematic historical facts and core doctrines from potential converts. The submission outlines specific coercive mechanisms the church employs, including a highly secretive disciplinary system, intrusive interviews with children about their sexual activity, and the use of the temple worthiness system to maintain control over members. Furthermore, the document details extensive financial abuses and a lack of transparency regarding the church's massive tax-advantaged wealth, which is accumulated through a mandatory tithing system. To mitigate this systemic harm, the community proposes comprehensive legal reforms, including establishing a regulatory body to enforce full disclosure of all church practices and finances. What do you think about that?
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, very accurate.
And
Why
so,
don't we-
so we can either talk about specific things that were mentioned there, or we can go to what you wanted, Tim, right now and talk
yeah,
about.
so let's talk about the bite model.
Okay, so Stephen Hassan, author of a book that outlines his bite model, and I know he was on Mormon Stories, and he's been on lots of other shows talking about sort of how that came about. Tim, does anybody want to read this?
Okay.
Can you read it?
Behavior control. The Mormon Church controls clothing and haircuts, regulates diet and drink, financially exploits members, and insists on group indoctrination and rituals. The Mormon Church discourages independent thoughts and feelings and encourages reports to leaders. It instills dependency and obedience and imposes rigid rules and regulations.
We can talk about that, and then we'll have somebody else read the next one.
Yeah.
So what do you think about behavior control?
Definitely.
Well, I mean, right down to the underwear, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you don't get any more controlling than telling people what underwear that they have to wear and then policing them and withholding saving ordinances from them if they don't. So, I mean, we can get into the whole idea of buying your salvation with tithing dollars because they keep you out of the temple if you don't do that too. But it's the same thing with the magic underwear. You know, the whole word of wisdom idea is ridiculous too, because it's cherry picking. Because I guarantee you there is no bishop in the history of bishops that has ever kept anybody out of the temple for not eating fruit and vegetables in their season. But drink a cup of coffee or have a beer, and then you can't go to the temple. I know somebody from my own congregation who got their temple recommend taken away because they had a beer on New Year's Eve.
I want to add one thing. I think behavioral control, it's the doctrine and practice and culture that instills in the member the belief system which they self-regulate. There is an outside enforcement mechanism, but it's all about getting the person to self-regulate, mostly.
That's right. And part of that is like there's a cult within a cult. Like certain Mormon families want to be more obedient than other Mormon families. And so their family wears their church clothing all day Sunday and doesn't watch football games.
Yeah.
The only way to be exceptional in Mormonism is to Mormon harder than the other Mormon.
I remember a Mormon telling me they didn't use vanilla flavoring because it had alcohol in it.
Oh my gosh.
Even though it's cooked out. Like I was
I've heard the same thing. It's ridiculous.
As a youngster, my I think it was mostly my mother. She had this fear of caffeinated soft drinks, and so they were forbidden in our home, and that stayed with me until I was a mid-teenager, and then I kind of broke free from that and drank Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, and this drove me crazy as a gospel doctrine teacher whenever I would teach the word of wisdom, because even Mormons don't realize there is nothing about caffeine in the word of wisdom. Caffeine is not prohibited, but people assume that because it's coffee and tea, that's prohibited specifically, strong drinks and whatnot. They assume that it's caffeine, but I guarantee you the only reason that caffeine-free Diet Coke exists is because of Mormons.
Anyone who thinks that the church doesn't discourage independent thinking, just try to take a TBM and a true believing member and explain to them, pick it, just pick anything. Joseph Smith had 8 versions of the first vision. They will not listen. They will stop you if they can. They will put their fingers in their ears, la, 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 la. They don't want to hear it because the church has already told them, don't listen to anyone that's not an authority over you in the gospel.
And Randy, that actually leads into the next one. You want to read that second paragraph?
Sure. Information control. The Mormon Church deliberately withholds information about its history, and when it releases information, it distorts it to appear more acceptable. By publishing its own diluted and censored versions of history, it gaslights members troubled about the deception. There's a strong taboo against accessing non-member church-approved sources of information or listening to former members. Members are strongly encouraged to shun, doubt, and members questioning Mormon Church beliefs or policies are typically reported to leadership. The Mormon Church produces abundant propaganda in the form of magazines, YouTube clips, podcasts, movies, and other media. Report me, bitches.
I'll never forget Leonard Arrington was talking about when he became church historian, and he was looking for his book, Great Basin Kingdom in the Church Library. And there was a special thing they put by the call number that designated it as anti-Mormon. And he thought, what? This book is anti-Mormon?
That's right, because history, real history, is anti-Mormon.
Yeah. You know, it was, when he told that story, it was like, are you kidding me? I remember talking to him about it. He says, yeah.
So he might be the only anti-Mormon author that becomes church
historian. Exactly.
Well, I've been converted to anti-Mormonism by Megan. Megan, are you anti-Mormon?
I am 100% anti-Mormon. You know,
Are you dyed in the wool, true blue through and through, anti-Mormon?
You know, I don't know what the hell that means, Gene, but all I know is that I used to be pro informed consent. I used to be pro practice your religion if that makes you feel good. I used to be pro if you're in the church because that's what you choose, even though you know it's not true, fine. Until I listened to the Architecture of Abuse podcast. And I knew that SA in the church, specifically SA of children, was a huge problem. But until I listened to that podcast, it did not really dawn on me that a church or any organization that is founded by someone who is a predator, everything else is going to be fruit of the poisonous tree. Yep. The architecture of abuse is called that because it is built into the foundations and the doctrine of the church to allow predators to hide and to escape with no consequences and to have free access to as many victims as they want. And so, yes, I am anti-Mormon. I hope the church goes away. I know it won't because it's too rich, but I hope that people see that any organization that does not protect children does not deserve to exist.
And that right there is why I proudly claim anti-Mormonism as well.
There you go.
Yep.
Let's see. Megan, you want to read this one?
Yeah, is this the one that I preface by singing, "We don't need no thought control"?
I forgot.
You got the accent in there too. I love that.
Oh my
goodness. Dark sarcasm in the classroom.
I forgot to do the spacing So you can see that 6 lines down. You can
I
stop.
think hopefully I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll blow a
Thought
whistle.
control. 42.3, thought control. The Mormon Church requires members to accept the church's claims as absolute truth and to distrust secular truth. Adults surrender their identity and become known as brother or sister, never your first name. LDS church leaders frequently use thought-stopping cliches such as doubt your doubts. Of course, the other instances cited above are also examples of this type of control. Emotional manipulation and control.
Well, that's the spot.
Oh, is that all I was supposed to? Okay, stop. Sorry.
Yeah. So Tim presented this, and it says like 42.3. That's pretty official. Is this from the Secret Bishop's Manual handbook?
No, it's from the document. It's
From the
it's from the document. It's on page 18 of the document.
It's from this document we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So those are the references.
Yes.
Okay.
Document is briefly explaining the bite model and how it relates to Mormon.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And it's just disgusting when you think about this, that they took away our identity by calling us brothers and sisters. They took our names away. They gave us a
And
number.
then they gave
took
us
away
new
our number.
names.
And then they give us, and then they give us a new name. Then we
And
can't
Megan-
say, except at a certain place that we show in you hereafter, Noah.
Megan, are there any primary songs that seem to be about thought control and that you could, and they're culty?
Jean, there are so many, I cannot even begin to name them. All the primary songs are about indoctrinating children to accept the official narrative and to hope for the same thing that all Mormons hope for: eternal families, going to the temple. That's all they want to do, is indoctrinate the children.
I'm going to say the number one song is "Follow the Prophet."
When we were in primary, Randy and you and me, we didn't have those kind of songs. There were happy songs. Give said the little stream,
I love that one.
They were
popcorn popping on the apricot tree.
Popcorn popping on the
Scripture, as far
apricot
as I was
tree.
concerned.
There's no
Hinges
such
wants
thing
me
as a
for a
witch.
son.
We had all
Hinges
these
was
neat
my favorite one.
Which what?
Hinges.
Which one?
I'm all made of hinges because everything bends.
I've never heard that
I don't know
before.
that
Had
one.
nothing to do with you, Tim. Really?
It wasn't in the green. It wasn't in the green book. No.
It was in the orange book.
Yeah, the orange book. See, I'm green book.
All right.
We grew up with the green primary book. I've never heard that song until.
Am I the only one on the panel that knows the Hinges song?
Probably.
I know that.
I'm kind of intrigued
Okay.
that everything bends.
Man.
Especially
I'm all
when you get
made
older.
of hinges because everything bends from the top of my head right down to my ends. I'm hinges in front and I'm hinges in back. I have to have hinges or else I would crack.
Wow.
See, we grew up with head, shoulders, knees, and toes. That's as far as we could.
That's right. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Somebody elaborated on that.
And
It's not all cult things, right? You have good things mixed in with the cult things, right?
I hope they call me for a hinges.
42.3, this thought control stuff. Now, if you haven't heard about this new Pew research been done on 4 types of Mormons, you've heard that. Rebecca Biblioteca just did a podcast on it, right?
yes.
An interesting statistic, very interesting statistic in there. 42% of believers are saying they don't think the church is the only true church, that idea is gaining momentum.
Yep.
Which directly contradicts, well, again, that's one of these sea changes in the culture or of the Orthodox. So there's four types of members. However, it also does mention that the one idea or concept that is keeping them all together is this idea about the family.
But they're moving away from orthodoxy. They're moving away from
Right.
orthodoxy.
Right. That's the key. That's a key takeaway. That's right.
They're jettisoning so many beliefs and practices that the old line, like McConkie and Benson, would be rolling over in their graves if they knew it was happening. They would go ballistic.
Yeah, if McConkie knew his planet was taken away from him, he'd probably bail right now. He'd probably start an anti-Mormon podcast.
Well, it's still in the temple. It's still in the temple. So they haven't done away with it entirely. Well, at least I believe it is. I don't know for sure, but it's probably still in the temple. So.
That's right. So I'll read the next one. 42.4, emotional manipulation and control. Members are made to feel the leaders or the Mormon Church are always right, and if they disagree, they are at fault. It promotes feelings of guilt or unworthiness and a reliance on confession to church leaders. It promotes fear of questioning or leaving and implies there is no happiness outside. Where will you go, right?
Yep.
There will be terrible consequences, disease, accidents, etc. Leaders frequently claim members who leave the church did so because they were offended or wanted to sin, such as drinking alcohol or engage in illicit sex, or they never had strong testimonies. They were the people who leave. It's like burning of the chaff, right?
So cue up Exhibit 1, Brad Wilcox, and pretty much anything he says from the pulpit.
That's right.
Brad
we
Wilcox
did a lot of Brad
is
Wilcox
backwards.
on Sunday on the Salt Lake Expositor. So check
His
our
brain-
channels for a
Exactly.
Sunday show.
His brain is backwards. He thinks backwards.
Yeah, but I'll
every
bet he
time he
doesn't have
says
illicit
something-
sex.
Every time he says something, it's backwards. You know, I mean, I listened to that Megan's video of him, and I'm going, the guy looks at the world opposite. You know, like why do we have to wait for so many years to get the priesthood? You know, why did we have to wait so long?
He said, why did black people have to wait until 1978 to get the
wrong
priesthood? And my
question.
answer is, why did white people have to wait until 1830?
1830.
That's
And I'm
right.
going,
What the hell
Brad,
is he?
sit down.
My first thought was poor white men that had to wait.
Yeah.
Those poor white men that had to wait.
What-
So here's
what-
another thing that maybe
Go ahead.
might make people think that the church is a cult. Just real quick.
If a destitute family is faced with the decision of paying their tithing or eating, they should pay their tithing.
barf.
That sounds pretty culty to me.
No.
Tim,
I
did you
remember-
Brother
not-
Jones.
have
Brother
you
Jones
not-
wants to talk.
You had not heard this, Tim?
What I'm remembering is a talk from the 90s about somebody who was in Yugoslavia who couldn't pay tithing and was looking forward to the day when he could pay tithing. Now that's different. See, the
Okay,
guy
Brother
couldn't
Jones
pay
has
tithing.
something. He gets the floor
Okay.
now.
I have direct experience with this issue. People who have urgent needs.
You have to speak up a little bit, Brother Jones.
People who have urgent needs. And they go to their bishop. And if that bishop is busy or doesn't know how to deal with the system or whatever, or has a bad opinion of the member, that help will not come, or it will come very slowly, much slower than is needed. I've seen that over and over again.
Another
Well-
form of bishop roulette.
I've seen, we had a member of the High Council in our ward, and the church paid his mortgage, his cable TV. They paid all that kind of stuff for him. And he worked for the church. He worked for the welfare department, whatever, you know. But the church paid, and I couldn't, there are people out there who need it. And he's getting stuff that other people ask, oh, we won't help you pay your bills, but they paid all his everything. It's like, what?
I had a bishop who told me, I went in to ask for help one time, and he asked me if I was paying for cable. And I told him that I wasn't. And he said, oh, I'm so glad to hear that, because every person who comes in here and asks for food assistance or help with their rent or whatever, I always ask them if they're paying cable. And if they're paying for cable, they should just cancel their cable before they ask for help. And I'm like, I can tell that you have no idea what it's like to be a stay-at-home mom and to do nothing all day long but take care of every single thing that your kids need, feeding them, cleaning up after them, cleaning the house, cooking the meals, doing the laundry, putting the kids to bed, waking the kids up, reading them stories, changing their diapers, and then have no other respite or escape but at 10:30 at night to turn on a sitcom and fall asleep after 15 minutes, because that's the only brain break that you get the entire day.
Yeah.
I can tell, it's like you have no compassion for anybody just because they're asking for food assistance. They literally can't feed their families, and you're going to judge them about what they spend their money on?
Or you could we had the member of the bishopric in my ward, the husbands were gone during the week or not there all the time. And if they wanted to get assistance, he betted them. He was going around screwing the women in the ward whose husbands were gone during the week and who were on assistance. And that's how they got assistance.
Is that how it works? Because now I know why I never got assistance.
That's how it worked in this one instance. It was like when I found out about it, I was going, are you kidding me?
Sounds like Playola.
Like,
so the other thing I was thinking is like basic cables from like $20 to $40, and monthly food bill might be $300 to $500. So yeah, they're exactly equal.
He was excommunicated, but the sisters were only put on probation.
But why were the sisters put on probation at all when they were being victimized by a power differential?
By him. Exactly.
Megan, you don't know what they were wearing.
I'm going to pretend you did not say that, Randy, because I know you're joking, but at the same time,
I'm saying that because you know exactly why I'm saying that.
Right.
They come up with every excuse they can to not blame.
Well, I'm sure that one of those sisters was wearing the new sleeveless garments, and that's really what set him off.
Right.
So you could be in a cult if your leaders say that victims need to look inside and determine their own amount of responsibility for being victimized by someone else.
Right. I mean, that was literally in the miracle of forgiveness. And I remember, going into my bishop at my mother's insistence. My mother insisted that I go into the bishop and confess because I was pregnant at 19 by a 31-year-old man in a coercive control relationship where I felt like I had zero power to say no. And I went in and confessed to my bishop, and he was very kind to me. Thank goodness he was not one of the bad bishops, but he did tell me to read The Miracle of Forgiveness. And when I read that book, I was devastated because I thought, I have not bloodied my knuckles knocking on the door trying to fight this man. I have not, died in the act of trying to protect my sacred virginity. I was like, I'm alive, so I must be complicit. And I racked my brain trying to think of where my sin was and what I did wrong and how I should have repented. And when I think back on that situation, if it had been one of my daughters, that man would be dead right now for what he did to me.
Well, you thought exactly how the church wants you to think.
Exactly. They tell you that you're sick, and then they provide the cure. And they do it over and over and over again.
Over it every Sunday.
Tim might have had companions or knew of elders whose parents would rather their sons or daughters come back in a pine box than lose their virginity on their missions or commit sin.
Yes. Of course, one was there so he could get a car. Another one was there for his girl, and she broke up with him. I had to laugh about that one. Oh. Yeah, he would. Yeah.
I think another sign of a cult is where you have someone who can molest children and get excommunicated and then come back into good graces and hold leadership positions over young people.
Christopherson. Excuse me.
Christopher. Wait, Christopher.
So I had another thought about that. Rebecca in the news yesterday talked about how Elder Christopherson, the first time anybody knew that he might have known was like in 2017. And that's when I think he got called. Wait, no. That's when he had to defend the changing of the, I don't know, whatever. But what I was thinking is that Wade was excommunicated in like the 90s.
In the 90s, that's right.
I don't think I would not know if my brother was excommunicated. I don't think that's possible. And if I was a leader, if I was a General Authority 70 or some other thing, I'm sure that I would know, right?
He 100% would have known. I mean, that's just a bald-faced lie. He was in church leadership, and he had a brother who got excommunicated. Not only would he have known, but I guarantee you somebody in the upper leadership took him aside and said, you better keep your brother in line so he doesn't embarrass you or you're out.
What happened did his brother who was homosexual also get exed? Or did they forgive
His brother
him?
who was homosexual left the church.
He resigned maybe or something.
On
I don't
purpose.
know.
Okay.
But according
And then he came
to
back.
And Wade said he
according
was
to
so
Wade,
disappointed.
Go ahead,
according to
Randy.
Wade, that brother was the embarrassment of the family.
Right.
The one that's gay, not the chimo.
Yeah. 10 years after Wade was excommunicated for child SA, his brother comes out as gay, and the gay brother is the person who brings down the name of the family, who disgraces the family. That is rich. That's amazing. We should do a whole show on just that. We should rerun that special and look at the other brothers talking.
It's just disgusting.
I'll have to say I have met two of the Christopherson brothers, and
really
they seemed fine. Neither of them were named Wade. They were at Sunstone or at the Mormon History Association. I can't remember which one, in like 2023. So anyhow.
Well, butter my butt and call me a biscuit, Gene. You met two of the three? Is there three? How many brothers are there?
Was there 5 boys?
5, yeah. 5 boys.
They're like, okay.
Yeah. And I will call you a biscuit from now on. I promise you.
Yes, please. But will you butter my butt?
I'm going to have you self-butter.
It's master buttering. Yes, okay, gotcha.
Okay. Master buttering. That's if you're really good at it. So anyhow, does anybody want to say more about this document?
I mean, I could talk for 16 hours about how many things there are wrong with the way that the church runs the church. It's and I hate to even call it a church, because first and foremost, it is a collection of corporations. It is a for-profit entity. And they've shown over and over where their priorities are. And it's not really with doing anything remotely like what a Jesus character would have taught. And it disgusts me that they use that as a guise to keep their power and their influence and their money. They are everything that, if there was a Jesus, that he taught against.
They are the antithesis of Christianity, if you think about it. I mean, really.
My partner likes to say, and so my partner is a former Baptist music minister, and he says all the time, it is a satanic organization. It is a satanic cult. And he hates that I talk about it. And he hates that I was indoctrinated into it. And he's really actually been a great help to me, because I catch myself sometimes slipping into the group speak and the group think when I say the church. And he's like, what church? And I'm like, you're right. They aren't the church. They're not the only church, but they like us to talk about them that way. And so I try to use the proper phraseology. And when I was getting ready to leave the church, there were a lot of sticking points that I was trying to advocate for change in my own congregation, which I'm sure you can guess how well that went. Nobody wanted change. But one of the things that I talked about as a Relief Society teacher and as a gospel doctrine teacher was this in-speak that we have, where people coming into our congregation for the first time to a testimony meeting, where we should be talking about our faith, they have no idea what we're talking about. Because when we get up and we say, I know the church is true, what does that actually mean? To somebody outside of the church, they have no idea what that means. What we're saying is, I know that the teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are true, but we don't say that. We shorten it to in-speak. And then people who don't understand it, we other them and we shun them and we push them out. When what would a literal Jesus's church have looked like? Nothing like this organization looks like today.
Not at all.
So the proper phraseology then, Megan, if I have it right, is MFMC?
The MFMC, that is correct. That is how I refer to it
MFMC.
colloquially.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to make a comment about the document. To me, the legal elements of it, or this being applied to a government and a potential laws, opens this up to many more people reading this and becoming aware of it. And I don't know how much governments look at other governments' documents and developments in their law and so forth, but I would think that many governments would be interested in how these kind of things impact their people and their economy, you might say. It may be minuscule, it may be unmeasurable, frankly, but I think it'll be interesting to see how much traction and how widely this document is seen around the world from a legalistic point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good point.
It's very damning. Yeah.
Tim, what did you like best about the document?
What
What was your favorite paragraph?
I have one. I'll let Tim talk, but I have one section I want to mention. I agree with it.
My favorite part of it, I don't know. Everybody should read it. I was just shocked. I mean, the Jamaica thing is what got me. I just hope that it's a force for good and does some good in the world. Brings the church to account for its
Who authored
failures.
the document?
Simon Southerton and I'll have to go back
Neville
to the top.
Rashau, I don't know how you say his name.
But I mean, what are their positions?
Simon Southerton is a PhD on DNA. He wrote the book Losing
Losing
Lost
a tribe. Yeah, losing a lost tribe.
This is around the year 2000 when he exposed the DNA problem.
Yes.
And he's a leading voice in all this. Neville Rashau, he was some kind of I want to say a judge or an attorney of some kind that worked for the government in Australia. He's an Aussie as well. He's got a fancy mustache. He's kind of
Like a barrister.
he's kind of a word interesting fellow. Yeah. Anyway,
They're both intellectuals.
But
They're very
they lay it out so logically and clearly what the problems are and what's going on, you know. I mean, they're asking for the church to return all the tithing to the members, you know,
which I think is a complete pipe dream.
It's a pipe dream.
But again, they were asked to submit. I think they submitted it late, or they got permission to submit it. They threw this together. I do want to mention paragraph 77. Okay, paragraph
That's
77.
a good one. Yeah.
This is talking about the lack of accountability to ordinary members is what gave rise to the Ensign Peak scandal. Details of the Ensign Peak arrangement were known only to EPA, the first presidency, and the presiding bishopric. Even the 12 apostles didn't know anything about Ensign Peak prior to the leak. That stems from the idea that Boyd Packer went in there and wasn't told how much money they had.
Yes.
I find it incredibly hard to believe that none of the 12 knew about EPA. I find that incredibly hard to believe.
No, they all meet together every day. They all know what is going on in every corner of every meeting.
I didn't know how much they had, but he made it to the office to find out what's going on here, and they said, we can't tell you. But
we can't tell you.
So I think that is overstated. That statement is overstated. Let's see here. All the unlawful actions were approved on numerous occasions over 23 years by the first presidency and presiding president. Now that I definitely agree with. To do what they did with all those shell companies and the phone numbers and the addresses, they absolutely, that is not a simple little scheme they threw together in a couple of hours. That was worked on by many people. Okay, all of the documents that would have to be signed to get that in place. No question. It was clear that the leaders of the church acted in this manner to hide the church's incredible wealth from its members so they would continue paying tithing. Well, that's admitted. That's a offhanded remark by the head of EPA. I can't, Clark, that's his name, Clark.
Yeah, Clark.
Okay, that was leaked in the Washington Post. I mean, it's too bad. That was reported by the Washington Post and the New York Times, I think. Something they got from him casually as they were leaving the office after the interview. But so I think they're making some assumptions there that may not be accurate, but neither here nor there. The financial scandal to me is extremely damning of all of this. I mean, it is the deception to me is.
Well, there's really only two things they care about: their image and their money. They don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
That's so obvious from this.
Yeah.
Is
I agree there.
They care about keeping the people in power.
Right.
And that's about both of those things, image and money.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's just disgusting. When I would have, 20 years ago, I would have never thought it was this bad. The more and more I learned, just so disgusting.
Can I share with you my favorite part of the
Sure.
original article? Well, my
Do you have
favorite
the
part that
number?
is actually worse. In the survey that they did, they said that 52% of people experienced one or more of the following: physical violence, child abuse or neglect, or sleep deprivation. And this quote, this is the one that is the worst to me. People noted that incidents of physical and sexual abuse within the group, including instances of child abuse, went largely unreported to authorities. And then some groups, like the MFMC, had their own internal reporting and punishment processes that excluded external involvement from legal or judicial authorities.
Go figure.
That just describes the MFMC to a T, and it disgusts me that they place their image and their finances over protecting children. I don't get that. What are you even doing?
The children are the future. You think they care about the future? Obviously, they don't. Or they think, well, we have a core believers, and they're going to stay a core of believers even when they grow up. You know, I mean, it's just
They've got to keep them coming, Tim, because they're bleeding right now. I just heard it broken down by Rebecca Biblioteca that, you know, if it really boils down to nuts and bolts, I think Megan threw a figure out there, but probably 1.7 million members are active church-going members in the gospel.
Well, I mean,
No.
estimates are as high as around 4 million. But if
3 to 4
that's
million.
true, if that's true, then there are 13 million ex-Mormons or PMOs, or people who just go to keep the peace. So there are way, way more ex-Mormons than they are Mormons.
But how many of those 4 million are children? Let's say there's 2 million adults and 2 million children.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
And
yeah.
have some interesting information on that, because they ask people to report how many children are at sacrament meetings. It's probably it's a subset of their data that they have.
Remember, every person in the ward is worth that shows up for the meeting is $1.25 for their
budget. Yeah. So I would conclude my statement by saying I encourage everybody to read the entire document.
Yes.
Never read the SEC ruling? That's easy to find. Just Google it. It's only 9 pages. Just read the story.
Read the story.
I think I think, you know, what we're doing here is one of those things that is so important, you know, just giving it air and talking about it and exposing the truth to more people. Even, you know, our little tiny corner over here, I would rather talk about this and expose this information than anything else. And the more people that read it and share the information, the more potential there is for the vulnerable people to be protected. And that's what I care about more than anything else.
So spread it like manure. Go to all the Facebook groups everywhere you can and share it. Just share it. I mean,
We just went down in the history books. That's the longest pause we've ever had.
It was a moment of silence for the people who still believe in the Mormon Church.
Yep.
now it's a moment of silence for all the children that they've abused and gotten away with.
We need a long moment for
And
them.
And the suicides and the abuse that goes on.
And all the people whose lives have been wasted and ruined, and all the people who have stayed in situations where they were, you know, marginalized and abused and and where their lives were literally wasted because they believed a lie.
Yep. We all believed a lie for a long time until we
And the
woke up.
nepotism is rampant
Oh,
within
yeah.
the LDS MFMC.
The
The
leadership.
nepotism is nuts. If you start looking at who's related to who, and let's keep it all in the family. Yep.
Yeah, I'll never forget a missionary showing me a picture of some GA, and he was dating his daughter, and he says, I'm going to marry his daughter when I get back, and then I'm going to become a general authority. I wonder whatever happened to him. Scary.
Well, look at listening to Lila regarding Hartman Rector Jr.
Yeah.
She said that really that's how he got into his position was he was a good old boy who knew some of those that could put him up in there.
Yep. Well, he knew how to play the game. He was in the military, and in the military, you learn how to get what you need to do to get ahead. So he said, I can apply the same principle to the church, and I'll get ahead that way.
So interestingly, Simon Southerton lives in Canberra.
Yes,
And Megan has hugs from Canberra right there.
that's right.
Thank you. Stop the insanity.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to come on the show, I just posted the link to come on. We're going to probably go for just a few more minutes, maybe a dozen, and then we'll be out. But if anybody's able to come on and give some of their thoughts, that'd be great.
I mean, I don't know what
Well,
else we can say.
I don't know how everyone's weather is, but while we're waiting for people to come on, we are very snowy right now in Spokane, Washington.
Really? Cool.
But Randy, more importantly, how are your inflatables doing?
Let me tell you, my inflatables are down. I put them away, and now my glittery reindeer are going up in
Oh,
the front
good.
yard. There's a transformation taking place, and I would have had it done today, but I went to snow blow the driveway on one of our properties. It's a particularly long driveway, really long. And since we have guests arriving, I needed to get the snow away. And so I went to snow blow the driveway, and it wouldn't freaking start.
Hmm.
So the only option was to take a shovel in my hand and shovel that MFD driveway instead of Mormon Church. And it was so long, and my back hurts so bad, and I'm so tired. I just thought I'd put that little bitch out there because
You've held yourself up well, Randy, for that Herculean task.
How long
Thank
is
you.
your driveway, Randy?
it's
long
probably
is it, Randy?
it's well, let me tell you, not that size necessarily matters on a driveway, but ours is about 350 feet.
Oh, okay. Like when I lived in Colorado, that's about how long our driveway was.
Yeah. And see, the whole point is I would have had my house completely finished today, but I had to hand shovel that driveway. So
Yeah. My dad
next
and I used to
Tuesday-
get out there and sugar it out in the driveway.
on next Tuesdays with Tim, I'll be happy to share a picture of what our Christmas yard looks like.
All right. Cool.
So we have a special guest. Stop the insanity.
Hey.
Hello, Insanity. Hello.
Your living room looks so familiar.
Yeah.
I've seen that somewhere before.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's kind of a deja vu.
So how is it in Australia?
It is 27 degrees Celsius. So I'm getting repeat.
Is your phone on?
No.
Well, yeah, we are not hearing a repeat. So somehow maybe you have an open tab on your computer that's repeating it.
Ah,
That could be happening.
there we are. Done. Great. Thanks, guys.
So, do you happen to know Simon Southerton?
No.
Oh.
No, I moved up to Canberra 1990, and I was out by then.
Okay.
You were out in 1990?
Mm.
Wow, you're like a pioneer.
Pretty much. It's,
What can you tell us what it was, what your Mormon story is?
So I was brought in when my incubator was having her divorce to my father. And yeah, that's all she's getting. She's lucky to get that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, she's dead now. Ding dong. Anyway, I was in Frankston Ward in Melbourne. Well, we did a few wards actually. She moved around a bit. I fell in love with a girl. That's what threw me out. What do you mean I can't love this person?
Been
It's
there.
tough.
I fell in
But
love with one too.
Yeah, a little bit different for you though. They're okay with that. They're not okay with me doing that.
I've always said I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body.
Might have to see your shoes wardrobe to prove that one. Anyway, she was, as I said, it was in the messages. My incubator got X'd for sleeping with one of the missionaries when I was 12. 12. She would have been 35.
So that's a pretty
He's
progressive
19.
for a Mormon.
Do we call that progressive?
Yeah, his partner, or his partner, buddy, what do they call them? Offsider?
Companion.
That's right. His companion knew what was going on.
So the companion wanted it to
Really?
be a threesome.
Yeah, for walks.
Wow.
But the companion didn't say anything, or how
Nope,
did she
I
get
just
found out?
She got dobbed in. I don't know who did it, but she got dobbed in, and all I remember was the stake president, the
Bishop.
missionaries president, the bishop, like 6 men arrived at my door. I was there the night she got sprung, and he was there.
Oh.
Yeah, that did not go down well. He got sent home, and she got X'd.
Oh, he got
For 10
X'd too. He got X'd also.
Yeah, he got sent home dishonorably.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. But she joined back again a couple of years later, 5 years later. Kept praying for my soul. Ended up married to a man and got 2 kids and wanted to say hello. Here we are.
Mom.
Alex. Mwah. Right. See you later.
I'm back.
You're back. Sorry, guys.
He's back.
He's back.
From outer
He's
space?
18. He's 18 and has significant disability, significant communication and cognitive delays, you could say.
Sure.
Anyway, so I got essayed at 8 by, and the guy showed up next week. I think he was like the cousin to the bishop or something. I don't know.
So a Mormon.
Or something. Yeah, during service. So he pulled me off into one of the dark rooms. So behind the chapel, there's a chapel, and then there was the overflow room, which they could open up for the bigger event. We had the stake events. And behind that was the basketball court. So there was this tunnel they'd keep jimmied off. Like you could move the doors open and close to allow for extra room. Anyway, he took me into that area.
So he did his own little ministering with you.
Yeah.
Private session.
No counseling, no nothing. He was there the next week, kept his position.
Oh my gosh.
Did you tell
What
him?
was his position? Was he a leader in the
young men's?
Man, that's
Young men's
just
business.
disgusting.
young man's. I think he was one of the teachers there for the deacons.
I'm sorry you had to go through that.
That's okay. Thank you. But it was many years ago, and it's been a journey. But it sort of set the wheels in motion of this doesn't seem right. And I was 6, and I got baptized at 8, and I was a little Molly Mormon, and I went to seminary and could out script only. I have a head for repeating stuff, so I could outscript the Baptists who show up at the front door. I got blacklisted so many times by them. It was so funny. But yeah, it was not until we moved to Canberra. I attended here for a couple of months, and then I met Juliet.
Where'd you meet Juliet?
At school.
Oh, school.
It was right.
It was good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you left
That's fine.
for social reasons. Was there a time where you had?
I got told that I wasn't allowed to be with her. I got told to break the relationship off. Full stop.
Right. So was there a time where you found out that the church, you had information that confirmed that the church wasn't true? How long did you have to wait for that?
So what they did, they pulled me into the office, and they said, "Look, we've found out about your relationship with Juliet, and we're, I tried to ask a couple of personal questions." I'm like, guys, that's not appropriate. But yes, I'm in love with her, and yes, we are close. And they're like, "We have to stop this. We're going to ask you to go away and pray about this." Well, I went hunting. I think I found some videos and something. I found some information. I don't remember where. And so I went hunting, and nothing made sense. Everything from not allowed to believe in dinosaurs because the Earth's not that old.
Right.
That one still gets me. There's a dinosaur museum every time I drive in my local area, and I'm just like, no, they really are true. Come on. I know you got brainwashed into them not being.
That's right. Tim and I grew up reading a book that said that the dinosaurs came from some other planet, and that it had exploded, and that God used the resources from other planets to clumb together Earth.
Yeah.
The
6,000 years ago.
The bones from the dinosaurs were part of another. Yeah. I never read that book.
Yeah,
that was W. Cleon Skousen, I think, wrote a book like that. It talked about.
My response
I didn't read
to
that book.
Is
my response to that was my science class. That was my response to that. Was my science class.
Well, and the fact that in northern Arizona you can go and look at there near the Apache Nation, you can go and look at these dinosaur footprints that have been preserved all around this mountainous area, and there's tours that you can take. Well, guess what? If it came from a different planet, you wouldn't have footprints on the surface of this one. Navajo Nation, not Apache Nation. Sorry.
But they would explain that was right. They'd explain that as on the outside, it was on the crust of it, or it was under the crust, and so that had broken down a bit by weather and stuff. But it was really from the other planet.
In my science class, we had a piece of petrified poo. That's what they figured it was our fossil in my science class.
I understand that Joseph Smith's rock in the hat was like a dinosaur gallbladder. That was
could have been.
I've got petrified poo in my backyard. I don't know what the big deal is about that.
Right.
Guys, I love you, but I am on my last brain cell. I'm going to have to call it a night. Thanks so much for the discussion. Thank you for the topic. Thank you to everyone in the chat, everybody who's watching, and everybody who watches on the replay, who cares about spreading this information. Please share it with people. Please make sure that people know and understand the majority of Mormons are good people. The church itself is a horrible, horrible organization that harms more people than it helps. Please get the word out.
That's right.
Thank you for your contributions, Megan.
So what's your next show, Megan, before you go?
Beverage.
Megan, what's your next show before you go?
I'm reporting on a couple of crime cases. I'm also doing Chad Daybell's letters, and then on Thursday on Ex-Mormon Snark, we are going to have the full temple endowment with the words and the handshakes and everything. Don't miss
There
it.
you go. All righty.
Thanks,
Megan.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care.